Anjana-shalakaya Jakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The sound is all okay? All right. Nana Shastra Vichane Kanipano Sadharma Samsapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Mahanyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padara Bhajana Nandena Mattali Kayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalako. So Hare Krishna, welcome everyone for this Nectar of Instruction reading and discussion. Once again, through the medium of this Hare Krishna, through the medium of this program, we generally read Srila Prabhupada's books, and here and there we add some points or we open it for a discussion like that. Okay, so to open it for a discussion, we'll request everyone if they can sit with their cameras on, then discussion becomes possible. As many devotees can have their cameras on, and we'll have it. Otherwise, it will become monologue where I'll be speaking. That's not the objective of this program. For that, we'll have our Saturday and Sunday afternoon classes. All right, text 3. So first to text NOI, once again a very quick refresher about this very sacred and important book titled as Upadesha Amrita. Upadesha Amrita, the nectar of instructions, of all instructions, the best of the instructions, like this. Generally, in every spiritual discipline, every spiritual teacher would give some essential teachings. Just like in Bible for Christianity, there is 10 commandments. Similarly, in Sikhism, there is a certain set of instructions. Similarly, in the bhakti life, devotional life, there are these 11 instructions, among which the first 7 instructions are extremely important for the sadhaka stage. The very first verse of the instruction, please mind it, it's an instruction, it is not an advice, it is not a suggestion, it's an instruction. And what is the first instruction? Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. Jivva vegam, udarupashta vegam. Etan vegani vishehe tadhira sarvam apimam pratvimsa shishyat. Vacho vegam. We were discussing about this Vacho vegam when during our Himalayan tour. I believe some of you might have received that recording, a snippet of that lecture where I was speaking to our audience. I was saying that we have come to this Himalayan tour, a land of yogis. People come all the way, all this far away. And I was describing in that lecture about what's the lifestyle of a yogi, how difficult, complicated it is. None of us probably, at least I for sure, for hundreds of lifetimes cannot ever imagine, live a life of a yogi, which a yogi lives in Himalaya. Sit whole day in meditation. For what? Just to silence his mind. And then begin to hear the sounds of the nature, of the world, and gradually and eventually sound of the super soul like that. So Vachovegam, the very first step in the process of yoga is speak less, hear more. I'll repeat again. The very first part of the very first point of be a yogi or becoming a yogi is speak less and hear more. The karmis, as conditioned living entities, we are too prone to speaking much and listening less. A good yogi, who is a yogi actually? What does a yogi does in the mountains? He's sitting in meditation. And when you go into the deep in the meditation, that's the time when you begin to hear all the sounds. That's how they capture all the realizations. I'll give you an example. I have the book. I met the disciple of this particular yogi. I went to ashram. This is Swami Sundaranand. I'm just going to read about his autobiography in some time. Now, he writes, he was a 16-year-old boy in 1948. His spiritual master, his guru was Tapovan Maharaj, who passed away somewhere around 1950, approximately that age. And he reached Gangotri at the age of 1948. And he describes about himself. He said, the very first time I had darshan of Gangotri and Gomukh was one and the same. Today Gomukh is 18 kilometers behind. He said, for the first time when I had darshan of Ganges, and when I heard the sound of Ganges, this is his words, he said, I felt getting completely purified of all my sins. And I felt I had a rebirth. And he writes, Swami Sundaranandji writes, then and there I decided to dedicate my life at the service of Mother Ganges. And he's a very noted personality. He just passed away in 2020. Have a very beautiful ashram under construction right at the Gangotri, where I long to visit once more in our next visit. Nonetheless, so Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. The very first instruction for a yogi, for all of a practitioner is start listening more and speak less. Manasa Krodha Vegam, and then automatically, the mind comes under control. You begin to control your anger. Jiva, the another function of tongue is to taste. So if you control the function of speaking, Manasa Krodha also gets a little bit balanced off. Similarly, Jiva, Udar Upashtavigam. If you want to control the urge of genitals, you have to control the urge of belly. And if you want to control the urge of belly, then you have to again control the urge of Jiva. Isn't that interesting? Sarvapadi, Vinirmuktam, Tatparatvena, Nirmalam, Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhaktir, Uchate. No, not this verse. What is that verse? What is that verse? Sevan Mukhe Jivadu. Sevan Mukhe Jivadu, na? Sevan Mukhe Jivadu, Swayam Eva Spuratyada. How does it verse start? Atah Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavet Grayam Indriye Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivadu. अगर आप अपनी जिह्वा को भगवान की सेवा में लगाएं, स्वयं एव स्फुरति यदा. जिह्वा को सेवा में कैसे? Two things. One, it has a function to speak and to taste. Speak about Krishna consciousness, taste Krishna prasadam. That's the instruction of the first verse. Vacha vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivva vegam, udar upashta vegam. Then comes the second verse. The six things which we should give up, the six faults. Atyahara, priyashascha, prajalpa, animagra, janasangasya lalyam cha, shatvibhakta, vinashyati. Vinash kar deti hain ye छह चीज. क्या है? Atyahara. Overeating, proper rights. Over endeavoring. Ati ahar. Ahar means food. Ati ahar means overeating. We'll discuss in detail during our elaborate discussion of NOI why Srila Rupa Goswami is the most condensed, concise instructions he would again repeat about ahar. Atyara is atihar. However, Prabhupada adds another twist to it by saying over endeavor, over accumulation. But atihara means overeating. Atihara, pryash, over endeavor. Prajalpa. So if you begin to listen more and speak less, prajalpa automatically will become handled and taken care. Listen more about Krishna consciousness. If you hear more about Krishna, what will you speak? You speak about Krishna. Because we hear prajalpa, we speak prajalpa, isn't it? We watch news, we read newspaper, we read novels, we watch movies. Then what do we speak about? We speak about the same thing. So what goes in, what comes out? That's a simple thing. Atyahara, prayasha, prajalpa, niyam, agraha. So this is, if you look at it, it's just a very beautiful subject matter. Again, a great human psychology has been introduced here. This is by default a situation of a conditioned living entity. There are two ways of a pendulum goes. One is we become very, in other words, you can call it radical. we become very staunch in following rules and regulations, so much so we forget the spirit behind those rules and regulations, just like Smarta Brahmins, or the example of Brahmana Patnis and the Brahmanas that we read about in the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. They were worshipping, they were performing fire sacrifice to please Vishnu. Vishnu is at their doorstep asking for bhoga, but they didn't offer bhoga to the Lord, but Brahmana Patnis offered. That is Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is like what you call as our sahajyas, who take rules and regulations very cheaply. They think, oh, it's okay. ये रास्ता तो केवल प्रेम का है, प्रेम करो केवल, rules regulation की आवश्यकता क्या है? So like that's not the way. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, every devotee must read at least 12 times Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, because that tells us what are the niyamas that we need to follow and to what level of strictness. So that's about Nectar Devotion. So, Atyara Pyashar Prajalpani Magra Janasanga, give up the association of worldly minded people. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, I would prefer to live with a lion than with a non-devotee. हाँ, यहाँ शहर में बैठ के तो कुछ भी समझ आएगा, जंगल में जाके बोलते, जब हिमालय में घूम रहे हो वहाँ पे पता चलता है कि वहाँ के जंगलों में शेर होते हैं, वहाँ जाके बोलो, I would prefer to live with the lion in the jungle than with the non-devotee. वहाँ ऐसे वचन नहीं निकलेंगे. शहर में बोलने में क्या आता है? 21वीं 18वीं फ्लोर, 28वीं फ्लोर में तो कुत्ता नहीं आता तो शेर कहाँ से आएगा? आया ना, नहीं कुत्ता क्या आता, पक्षी नहीं आता तो शेर कहाँ से आएगा? Anyways, so that's the point here. Janasanga chalalim cha, greed. Yeah, greed is again, I mean, I'm giving you clues for all of you. Read Prabhupada books. We can read commentaries. You can read commentaries. The question I'm trying to raise here is, why Srila Rupa Goswami, among all the faults, chose these 6 faults? He didn't choose Kama Vasana. Interesting? I'm just raising questions out here. Again, I'll say, Atihar, Priyas, Prajalpa, Niyamagraha, Agraha, Janasangha, Laulyam. It's very interesting, huh? And you think, Prabhuji, ये तो ठीक है, अपना सबसे बड़ा challenge तो काम वासना है. For youth, particularly in today's age, the greatest challenge. So interesting, we'll see, take a look at it. Some thoughts, food for thought for all of you. These are the 6 things which were discussed. And now the 6 things which we should pray to acquire. The 6 good qualities which we should possess is the subject matter discussion of this text 3. Let's begin with it. Everyone. Ussaha nishaya dharya tat karma pavartanat sangatyaga sato vrittihi shadbir bhakti prasidyati. Shadbihi, by this devotional service, prasiditi, by these 6 good qualities, devotional service progresses. What are the 6 good qualities? Translation directly. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. First, Ussaha, enthusiasm. Prabhupada's servant, one of the Prabhupada's servants said, Prabhupada, I don't feel like offering obeisances. Prabhupada said, no problem. Offer obeisances, you'll start feeling. You act enthusiastically, because this is all mind's game. But don't get into it. I'll tell you, if somebody asks me, what have you learned after years of practice of this bhakti culture? I'll say there's only one thing, at least, of course, a couple of things, but one thing that I can say is, whatever I did until now was all drama, because I was victimized by my mind. It was all mind's game. You do this, you do not do this. Any and every argument we got in devotees, every conflict that we had, it was nothing but mind's game. Somewhere our mind had to play a thing, that's all. Okay. So be enthusiastic, don't worry about it. Just act, just do it. So that is Ussaha. Then, how do we do it? Nishya. Nishya means with confidence. What is a Nishya? That Krishna will protect me. What is the confidence? That Krishna will protect me. The devotees will protect me. That gives results to confidence. Usaha, Nishya, and Dharya. What a brilliant combination. And then Srila Rupa Goswami says patience. All right, let's hear from our audience. Anyone here would like to, give some of your reflections? Why would Rupa Goswami pick up among 6 good qualities. Okay, Utsaha we understand. We should be enthusiastic for chanting the holy names. We should be enthusiastic for waking early in the morning. We should have confidence that if I chant, Krishna would be pleased, or etc. etc. Then after that, Rupa Goswami said Dharyat. That means patience. I mean, this is not that Rupa Goswami have cut, copy, paste from somewhere, huh? This is not Google search result, 11 instructions. This is Srila Rupa Goswami's realizations in a condensed form. And every word, what is prefix and suffix has a meaning. What is being used first, what is being used later on. Why Dharyat? Why Dharyat is needed? Any thoughts? Yes, Mother Ashmi. Hey,
so basically, you need to be enthusiastic.
Yeah, one way you are too young to give an answer for Dharyat. You're just around 2 years, I believe, Mother Rashmi, right? This is more appropriate for those who have been on 10, 15 years because they have undergone the experience of Dharyat. But good. Go ahead, Mother Rashmi. What's your
Shall
thought?
I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your reflection?
Mine is like you should be enthusiastic to serve, but patient, not to like jump to get the results or something. So in that terms, you should be patient enough that you're not
Okay.
expecting immediate results.
So don't become an overnight Goswami. Today you read NOI and tomorrow morning you become the 7th Goswami. Well, 7th Goswami is already taken by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Probably 8th Goswami is Bhakti Siddhanta, 9th Goswami is Srila Prabhupada, 10th is your Guru Maharaj. So 11th I become Hari Bol. So no, that's not going to happen overnight. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mother Rashmi. Anyone else? Dharyat. Krishna Chandra, let's begin with you. I want to hear from the senior most member first. Senior most member would have the most experience of this Dharyat.
Hare Krishna.
Any thoughts? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Especially when you're in the management. Yeah, especially when you're in the management, criticisms after criticisms after criticisms. But if you're not patient, you will just bloop and go away.
Okay. What about being a mentor? What about being a mentor? You have to tolerate all the things and tidings of your people who you're training up, isn't it?
Yes.
There's a lot of dharya there also.
Yes. And you find that you can't please everybody.
You can't please everybody. Okay, very good.
You've got to be patient and, and that's where the mercy of the spiritual master and devotees comes in.
Okay, good.
Be patient. Because you see how patient they are. And I'm reading the Juhu story now.
Yes.
How Sundar Prabhu and Tamal Krishna Maharaj just gave up and cancelled the agreement.
Oh, yeah. Prabhupada was so wild.
And Prabhu, even after the, getting all the approvals, suddenly halfway through, the police commissioner says, stop all activities. What kind of patience Srila Prabhupada went through.
Bringing a very beautiful point. Correct.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Good. Very beautiful point. Niranjan Prabhu, you wanted to say something? You had your hand up?
Hare Krishna. So I just wanted to add up on the point that Mataji was saying that even after, I'm into Krishna consciousness since 7-8 years now. So even until now, there are times when, most of the times that when while chanting, we don't have our full attention or we are not interested and have other things going in our mind. So we need to be patient and follow the principles set up by Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj so that we can move ahead with the association of devotees.
The example that comes to my mind of this quality, of course, Srila Prabhupada. Indeed, Srila Prabhupada, can you imagine, had to wait for the fag end of his life to be able to go and preach at the age of 70. Somebody can argue, imagine Prabhupada would have done that at the age of 40. What would have happened? And actually Prabhupada was preaching. Prabhupada was publishing. At the age of 40, he was publishing Back to Godhead magazine, how much, what not. So, of course, we can speak about Prabhupada at length for that. Another one classical example that comes to mind is the Shabri. Guru Maharaj said, her spiritual master said, well, you cannot quit your life. You have to wait. your beloved Lord of your life, Lord Ram, is certainly one day going to come and visit you. So, Ussahan, what is expected from us is we should be enthusiastic in practice of devotional life. Now, enthusiasm alone will not sustain. We should have confidence on the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. And for that, the mercy that we are expecting to receive, we should have patience. It will work. It will work. Have patience. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Ussahan Nishya Dharyat. It's very interesting. We don't see what all changes are undergoing within ourselves or what all changes we have undergone ourselves. But when you ask our seniors, they'll tell you how much changes we have undergone. So sometimes we become very much result conscious. The goal of life is Krishna Prema. Kyo nahi mila abhi tak. So इसके लिए कहा गया है तत्त कर्मा प्रवर्तनात्, and to act according to regulated principles. 9 limbs of bhakti. That is that. Sangha Tyagat. Haribol. Sangha Tyagat. Abandoning association of non-devotees. And Sato Vritti. Very, very important point. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. First canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes, any decision and every decision that a devotee makes becomes auspicious when it is blessed by seniors. That is the meaning of Satovritti, following in the footsteps, which means whatever choices that we make, the decisions that we make in our life, we should have the blessings of a senior Vaishnava so that we know that we are in the right direction. So following the 6 footsteps of previous acharyas, these 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. You can read Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 8, verse number 7 and 8. There also Krishna talks about it, how to chant following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Okay, I don't have my copy of Bhagavad Gita. Wait a second, I'll tell you what it was. There also the word Sato comes. One quick second, I'll show you right away. Bhagavad Gita 8.7, here it is. We have discussed that. Abhyasa Paramam Purusham Vyati. One second. Practical chases of mind intelligence. Tasmat Sarvesh Karmam Ha Anusmaraha. So, can I share my screen here, right? Control Shift Z. 150. It is chapter number 8, verse number 7. Where am I? Zoom. Here. Share screen. And here's the database. I hope all of you are able to see this shloka and document. Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmarayudhya mai arpita mano buddhir mameva shasi asamshaya. Anusmara. How to remember me? Anusmara. Prabhupada writes here, Anu. Anu means, to follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Think of in the form of Krishna. Yeah, here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary writes about this particular word here, Anusmaraha. How to remember? In the footsteps of previous acharyas like that. Anyways, so let's take a look at the purport now. The purport. Anyone would like to read the first paragraph? Okay, Krishna Chandrapur, please begin.
Yeah. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 has defined devotional service as follows. Anya Bilasita Sunyam Jnana Karmadya Anarvitam Anukelena Krishnanu Silranam Bhakti Uttama. Uttama Bhakti or unalloyed devotion onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from an extraneous motive and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, and other selfish desires.
Hare Krishna. So, I have a question for all of you. And you want to mark this very beautiful and important point in your books. The very first line of the purport. Devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Any thoughts, any reflections? Its substance is practical activity. What does it mean? It's not about imagination. How did Prabhupada define the word bhakti? Devotional service. Service means action. Action means engaging the senses. So when it is said its substance is practical activity, which means a devotee at all times is engaged in the service of Guru and Gauranga. That's the point. It is not that just sitting and imagining I'm a great devotee, I'm a devotee, I'm a devotee. No. What are you doing? What activity are you rendering? So Prabhupada very categorically right. Its substance is practical activity, which means there is some practical, there is some output produced, there is some concrete service being done. That's the meaning over here. All right. Now, what is bhakti? Prabhupada describes this in the follow-up paragraph. Go ahead, Krishna Chandra Prabhu.
Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, and some pseudo-yogi teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information or devotional service, and for this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Sri Prahlad Maharaj recommends Sarvanam, Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atman, Nivedanam.
Hare Krishna. Very important point. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, which meditation also does. Meditation purifies. However, it may end your mundane engagements, nonsensical activities, but it does not give you positive engagement. That's the point Prabhupada is making. But bhakti is a step forward. It engages your senses in a positive way. Therefore, Prabhupada writes elsewhere in his writings that these yogis, those who travel to Himalayas, they perform severe austerities, indeed very severe austerity. They live for years and decades altogether over there. And then when they have attained certain level of purification, then due to want of activity, they again come back to this city life and open a charitable hospital, educational institution. They want to teach about ecological balance, how to protect ecosystem. This is all good. There's nothing wrong about it. It's not, we should not do it. But the missing point here is it is all being done in the absence of God consciousness. Whereas for us, we can be a city dweller. As Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shadhavan bhajitevam samita yuktatamo mataha. You can be the best of the yogi if you serve Krishna. Because when you serve Krishna, you serve all the living entities. That's the point, Prabhupada says. So we don't only stop nonsensical activity. Our bhakti doesn't only stop nonsensical activity, but also engages us in a positive way. Our senses are engaged in a positive way. That's the point. And then there are 9 processes of devotional service, which are as follows. Please go ahead.
The 9 processes of devotional service are as follows: hearing the name and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead; 2, chanting his glories; 3, remembering the Lord; 4, serving the Lord's feet; 5, worshipping the deity; 6, offering obeisances to the Lord; 7, acting as the Lord's servant; 8, making friends with the Lord; 9, surrendering oneself fully to the Lord. Sarvanam, or hearing, is the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. One should not give oral reception to unauthorized person, but should approach the proper person as recommended in Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Tad vidhi pranipatyena pariparsena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is
Hare
further
Krishna. So, what's the flow of the purport going on here? The two things. So let's take a look at the translation again and take a look at the purport. So I hope you don't miss out on what's the subject matter. Rupa Goswami is speaking about the 6 qualities that should be cultivated, which enhances or that would enhance one's bhakti. So Prabhupada begins his purport talking about what bhakti first of all. You will enhance bhakti only when you know what bhakti is. So bhakti is practical activity, which means devotional service. That is what been described so far. And there Prabhupada defines pure devotional service and he quotes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the definition. Then how bhakti is performed, then Prabhupada quotes Prahlad Maharaj verse, Shravanam Kirtana Vishnu. So these 2 points are done. What is bhakti and how bhakti is performed. Now how do you learn about bhakti? That is the 3rd point. For that, Prabhupada is talking about Tadvidi Pranipatena, approach a bona fide guru. Is that clear? Very straightforward. So Prabhupada has a storyline building up here. What is bhakti, how to perform bhakti, and how to learn about bhakti. This is what we have read so far. And on the same way, Prabhupada continues to speak further. Okay, we can have somebody else read out now. Nikhil or Mother Sonam, whoever you are present there, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Puri Pranam. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. It is further recommended in the Mundak Upanishad, Tad Vigyanartham Sa Gurum Eva Bhigachet. To understand that transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, Brahmand Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Rata Bij. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate soul may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. This is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Chaitanya
Hare
Charitamrita.
Krishna. Yeah. So now Prabhupada is bringing the 4th angle here. So what is bhakti, how to perform bhakti, and how to learn about bhakti. Now Prabhupada is saying bhakti can only be received by a very rare souls. That is the 4th. It's not that everyone can receive it. Brahmanda Brahmatakona Bhagyavan Jiva. Only a very fortunate. Brahmande Brahmate Bhagyavan Jiva. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti. Only by the mercy of Guru and Krishna one can receive bhakti. That is a point Prabhupada is bringing. Like so far is okay. Now, please continue.
The material world is a place of confinement for the living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure seeking. They actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness. But knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. When by good fortune one comes in contact with a pure devotee and hears from him patiently, one begins to follow the path of devotional service. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. One
Hare
should
Krishna.
act.
Yeah, this is the introduction to this verse. This is Srila Prabhupada's introduction to text number 3. And in the last 2 concluding points of the paragraph, not the paragraph that we read, Prabhupada is making a point about now who can receive this bhakti? What is the qualification of a sadhaka? One who is sincere. So there has to be a qualification also. So qualification is sincere. Second, and the last point in this particular introduction is the aim of ISKCON. The purpose of ISKCON. The ISKCON is creating an opportunity for people at large to get connected to Krishna consciousness. ISKCON's purpose is to help people become Krishna conscious. Now, what is the very first statement among the 7 statements of Srila Prabhupada? To systematically propagate the teachings of Lord Shri Krishna. That's the point here. Now, Srila Prabhupada will begin his explanation on each of these 6 items. So let's read one item for today and we'll see other items for tomorrow. All right, Mother Priyanka, your hand is up. Please read the next paragraph. Yes, start reading. Yes.
One should accept this opportunity to return back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, a businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line, must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The action is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishna Kila Chesta.
कृष्णा था खेला चेष्टा कृष्ण के लिए ही चेष्ट करना चाहिए. Continue.
In all phases of life, one has to perform devotional activities under the direction of spiritual master in order to attain perfection in Bhakti Yoga. It is not that one has to confine or narrow one's activities. Krishna is all-pervading. Therefore, nothing is independent of Krishna, as Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta mardina
Murtina.
mat sthani sarva bhutani na chetam tasva
Chaham
na chaham
Teshu
tasva avasthita.
avasthitaha. Yes.
By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one has to make everything favorable for Krishna's service. For example, at present, we are using a dictaphone. The materialist invented this machine intended it for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. He certainly never thought of using the dictaphone in God's service. But we are using this dictaphone to write Krishna conscious literature. Of course, the manufacture of the dictaphone is only within the energy of Krishna. All the parts of the instrument, including the electronic functions, are made from different combinations and interactions of 5 basic types of material energy, namely Bhumi, Jala, Agni, Vayu, and Akasha. The inventor used his brain to make this complicated machine, and his brain as well as the ingredients were supplied by Krishna. According to the statement of Krishna, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani, everything is dependent on my energy. Thus, the devotee can understand this that since nothing is independent of Krishna's energy, everything should be dovetailed in his service.
Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada, the main point while talking about the subject matter of Utsahan, Prabhupada says the first few lines of the purport are very important. One should accept this opportunity which is given to us to return back home, very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Third, enthusiasm means action. But action for whom? Action for Krishna. Krishna Artha Akhila Cheshta. We perform service for Krishna. And fourth or fifth point, you want to call it? We don't have to give up things. In fact, everything can be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. That's it. I'll give one of my example and then I'll pause here. I was studying, what was I doing? Electronics and computer engineering at Ohio State University. तो जब मैं वहाँ भक्तों से मिला, भक्त समाज से जुड़ा, तो I came across several Srila Prabhupada disciples. You know, they were growing old, they needed medical attention, of course, some financial need also. I was a student, not even a medical student, I was an engineer. I was a student, so I didn't have any enough money to sustain myself or to help them. And of course, I didn't have any medical knowledge. So I remember after I graduated, got a job, whatever little financial aid I can give or I can support, I supported and offered. But I remember regretting those days. I was thinking, oh, I wish I could have become a doctor. Seriously telling you, this is what I used to think. I wish I could have become a doctor. So much service I could have done. My education would have been of some use. What is the use of being a computer engineer? All useless. No service can be done. Like that, I used to regret like this. But here Prabhupada is saying, no, it's not like that. Everything can be dovetailed in Krishna's service. We just have to have patience. And it fructified that way when I came back to Pune. And I had some technical background and a corporate exposure. Because of my corporate exposure, they sent me to Hinjawadi. Start corporate preaching. And because of technical background, they asked me to set up the whole IT infrastructure for NVCC campus and for the RKB campus, and like that. And from there, the service grew, and we started helping other temples and other communities how to take care of IT infrastructure, how to protect brahmacharis, etc., etc. So, matter of fact is, yes, everything can be used in the service of Krishna. You may or may not realize and understand it at this point of time, but what is needed is, what is the qualification of sadhaka? Sincerity. There should be willingness to use God's given gifts and our talents in the service of the Lord. So that's the point over here about Usahan. Be enthusiastic. Be enthusiastic to return home, back to Godhead. Just like imagine after today is Nijal Ekadashi. Of course, how much enthusiastic would be tomorrow morning to break our fast? Those of you in Pune, you might be still dull because your body will not complain so much. Those of our devotees who are in Delhi, I remember once I was in Delhi during Nijal Ekadashi. Whole day I locked myself in an AC room. I didn't come out of the AC room only. I said I am not stepping out. It is impossible for me to survive without water here. So imagine in Delhi, in Vrindavan, if you're there and following Nijal Ekadashi, the amount of enthusiasm we'll have tomorrow morning. The lolium, the greed that will manifest to taste the drop of water. That time, no Krishna prema, nothing would come to mind. Only breaking fast will come to mind. So that's how we talked about here. Hare Krishna. Ranjan, do you want to say something? Your hand is up. Hare Krishna. Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something? Okay, no. Okay. So I saw your hand was up. So fine. So our time is up for today. Today is what? Wednesday? Okay. So Thursday morning, we'll have our discussion tomorrow again. And Friday, we'll have our Bhagavatam class. This everyday thing would be a little difficult for me because next week, again, I'm traveling to South India for a week. So every Sunday or every Saturday, I'll publish a week-long schedule. So you're kind of aware and you're prepared. Not that it's a last-minute surprise, but I really wish to continue this program, this forum. So, the best part is just to go back and read Prabhupada books again and again and again. And it's just fantastic. So we'll do that, all right? Thank you all for your kind attention and joining us today on the very, very auspicious occasion of Nirjala Ekadashi. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Rupa